Welcome back. More taxes on the way. The National Health Insurance Authority today releasing a policy paper outlining how the health scheme will be funded. Our Jamila Misik has the details.
Here's what's on the table. NHI's employer mandate will require businesses and employees to share the cost of the Standard Health Benefit or SHB premium. That is, with some exemptions. It's estimated that employees will pay 2% of their salary to a maximum of $42 per month, with the employer paying the remainder of the premium. The plan to have this phased in starting January 2021 for businesses with over 100 employees, then eventually be expanded to include all employers over the coming years. Employers will also be responsible for providing the SHB to full-time and part-time employees working over 15 hours per week. When asked at Tuesday's weekly press briefing if the government is comfortable that taking 2% will be easily accepted by Bahamians, Press Secretary Anthony Newbold says only time will tell.
We don't know what will happen yet. Once those recommendations are made, the government will have to, again, after wide consultation. I would say this, people had a serious problem with national insurance when it was introduced as well. They're quite happy that national insurance is there now. But whatever's being proposed, whatever that percentage is, whatever that percentage ends up being, it will be discussed widely before the government decides on a definitive position.
For his party's part, opposition leader Philip Davis says it was always envisioned that as the program evolved, there may have had to be an assessment as to whether it had to be contributory.
That was not an immediate item on the agenda of the Progressive Party in our rollout of the program. So for me to respond to that question is I need to see what are they rolling out, what components of national health insurance are they embracing in their plan to determine whether or not what they are doing would be a prudent step to delivering universal health care to all Bahamians.
The National Health Insurance Authority, or NHIA, has released a policy paper for public consultation. This in an effort to better suit the needs of Bahamians and stakeholders. The paper, entitled National Health Insurance, A Shared Responsibility, outlines the proposed policy framework for advancing the NHI program. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Jamila Misik.
Well, under the new proposal, NHI promises to be affordable, realistic, and sustainable, with a goal to act as a catalyst for change in the way Bahamians experience health care. It's proposed then that primary care services be expanded, for instance, comprehensive cancer screenings for the most common cancers in the Bahamas. A high-cost care program would also be implemented to include comprehensive coverage for select conditions or treatments which have a high prevalence in the country, along with several other components. Under the new model, the NHIA will act as the public payer, focused on helping those who do not fall under the employer mandate, including children, retirees, non-working spouses, and unemployed people. The policy is posted on the NHI Bahamas website for stakeholders and the public to review. There's a timeline of 45 days to submit responses through the online consultation survey. The NHIA will also schedule individual meetings with stakeholder groups and host town hall meetings here in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and the Family Islands during the consultation period. Based on the feedback collected during the consultation period, the NHIA will then present recommendations to the government on the way forward. In other news this evening, calling it a monumental waste of money, energy, and time. The opposition today bashing the government's decision to relocate the General Post Office from its longtime East Hill Street location to the Town Center Mall. Progressive Liberal Party Chief Philip Davis today arguing that this decision is a disservice to the Bahamas and taxpayers, which is why the PLP rejected the Town Center Mall location because of cost and engineering concerns.
We don't think, we find this is self-dealing, and we will not support self-dealings. We think that the arrangement that is already in place at the Independence Shopping Center is the more prudent arrangement to enter into. And we would point out that at the end of the day, this is, on the face of it, once some of the questions I've put out there have been asked, this clearly would not have been the most prudent expenditure of public funds.
Now, the opposition leader says there are a number of questions still unanswered. For instance, how many square footage will be subject to the lease, who will be responsible for the renovations, and at what cost. Debate on the resolution for the post office's relocation to Town Center Mall kicks off in the House of Assembly on Wednesday. Some 150 employees at the Grand Lucayan Resort have opted to accept separation packages. Of this figure, 60 are management staff and 90 line staff and casual workers. This then would reduce the number of employees down at the Grand Bahama Hotel to 303, a figure closer to the desired count of 300. On the money end, Hotel Corporation Chairman Michael Scott estimates it will cost the government between $2 and $3 million to make good on the voluntary departures. Separations are expected to begin around the end of the month or the beginning of November. The separation packages follow the government's controversial decision to purchase the 3-hotel property for $65 million, making an initial down payment of $10 million. Last month, legislators signed off on a resolution guaranteeing the government the $35 million needed to complete the purchase. While the ultimate goal is to sell the property as soon as possible, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says the idea is not to just recruit an investor just for a quick sell. The opposition, meantime, has blasted the acquisition as desperate, ill-advised, and an inadequate band-aid approach to address the state of Grand Bahama's ailing economy. Press Secretary Anthony Newbold taking on criticisms following approval of Disney's proposal to create a cruise port in Lighthouse Point, South Eleuthera, ruining one Eleuthera Foundation's interest in developing the sprawling property.
No one has explained yet how someone can make, in fact, insist on making a proposal for land that they do not own. But we'll see what happens at the end of the heads and how soon that project will get started. But the people of South Eleuthera are certainly expressing their happiness in the fact that the project has been approved.
Now that Disney's proposal has gotten the green light, the government, in a release on Friday, indicated that negotiations will begin on a heads of agreement detailing the scope of the project, the obligations of Disney Cruise Line's island development, as well as that of the government. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Alive.